what is a compound statement? A compound statement is one where we have combined, two or more statements. We're going to keep it simple initially and just look at two of them. The very first compound statement is an AND statement. I'm going to start with an example. I have a cat. That is a statement. He is smart. I have a cat. He is smart. Two statements. I'm going to put them together. I have a cat and he is smart. So in grammar, we call this a conjunction. In math, this is logical and is denoted by, that notation. Now, you perhaps might have seen in some of the sculptures from Roman times, etc., where they write, for instance, Leonard or and, they wouldn't write A as in full A, but they would get rid of that middle line. So if I look at it, I would call it as A. And if I see something like that in some old text, I might look at it as U. So, and is denoted by that caret symbol. It is called a caret, not as in the carrot that we eat, or avoid. It's caret as in C-A-R-E-T. I have a cat. I can call that statement P, and he is smart. I can call that statement Q. Sometimes we may use this. We may say, I have a cat, but he is smart. So I mentioned the previous topic, it sort of goes between or the true false aspect of things usually happens in the listener or the reader, also in the mind of the speaker. So in my mind, from my perspective, I make a statement, I have a cat and he is smart. In the second case, I'm saying I have a cat. I'm making an assumption, oh, the other person is going to judge because my cat is, because I have a cat, they will make an assumption that the cat is not smart because it's an animal. So I jump to the next step and I immediately say, I have a cat, but he is smart. So I am pretty much saying the same thing. I have a cat and he is smart. I have a cat, but he is smart. Remember how I changed the tone of my voice, which is why, when you write an email, things might be interpreted in a different way, because when we communicate face to face, we have facial expressions, tones, but those things aren't present in writing, which is why when you write, you've got to be careful not to offend people. I can go on and extend this to, I have a cat, yet he is smart. All these, the last two ones in English. The very first one is what we use in formal logic. So I'm just trying to make connections to what we would do in English. Again, when I say I have a cat, yet he is smart, I'm saying I have a cat. I'm making an assumption that the listener is going to think that my cat is dumb. So I jump to a conclusion and say, I have a cat, yet he is smart. So I'm trying to imply I have a cat and he is smart. I have a cat. Nevertheless, he is smart. I have a cat. Nevertheless, he is smart. So in that statement, I'm making the first statement, I have a cat, but I'm thinking, oh, the listener is going to think that my cat is dumb. So I just jump and say, nevertheless, he is smart. All four cases are equivalent. But in terms of English, the very first one expresses confidence. I have a cat and he is smart. I know that my cat is smart and I'm putting my foot down. But if you read the other statements, I'm trying to say the exact same thing, but I'm more focused on the listener. I'm more focused on the second person as to what they would think. So I'm putting it, I'm expressing the same thing slightly in a different way. So the first one using and is formal logic. The others are equivalent, but used in English. One more case. The same, I have a cat. Oops. Cat, and he is not smart. In terms of notation, I'm going to go back to the previous example. I have a cat, P, and upside down V. He is not smart, so I have simply negated the previous statement I had. I had Q, I'm going to write it as not Q. There is something that I can point out here. Earlier, I mentioned there is an overlap between set theory and logic, and in some universities, when they teach logic, they would call it as logic and set theory, or set theory and logic. And in set theory is intersection. Why? The number 5 is in set A and in set B would imply the number 5 is in the intersection of A and B. Do you agree? If I have a set A, I put 2, 5, 7. I have set B, 1, 4, 5. Number 5 is in set A and in set B. This would imply that A is in the intersection, that 5 is in the intersection of A and B. Yes? Now, you can sort of see the connection between the inverted V and the upside down U. Yes? Again, going back to old times, long time ago, you can still see this if you go look at old buildings in New York, London, England in general, Europe, Italy. Instead of putting the letter U, they would have used V. And instead of A, they would have used inverted V. So it's very common.